Hi, I'm Aaron Brinsenhoff, and I'm the Content Marketing Director here at Virgin Co-Marketing. And in this video, I'm going to be looking at the question, is investing in SEO advantageous for dental practices? Now, let's skip right to the good part. Your burning question is hopefully what the title of the video is, so let me be clear right up front. Yes, in fact, it has several advantages that we'll discuss later, okay? But before we get into what those advantages are, we'll be looking at very briefly what SEO is, and then we'll take a look at 3 competitive advantages that dental practices can gain by investing in SEO. And then we'll also look at 3 SEO best practices that dental practices should be testing out. Now, let's take a look at what is SEO. So SEO stands for search engine optimization, and it's the process of improving your website's visibility and ranking in search engine results pages, or SERPs. Now, there's a lot of things that go along with making that happen. So that's basically what it is. Let's talk about those advantages. So the 3 competitive advantages that dental practices can gain by investing in SEO include getting higher search engine rankings, right? It's right there in our explanation of what SEO is. So what does it mean to get higher search engine rankings? It means you're ranking higher in SERPs than your competitors, ideally. Now, there are a couple of things that you can look at to see if your site is actually ranking highly in SERPs, and those things include, looking at you have content that ranks right at the top of the organic search section of the search results page for keywords that are relevant to your dental practice. You are also seeing your site's content appear in the top 3 of the map packs, which is usually in the sort of top right of the search engine's results page. If there is a map pack, there's not always, but if there is, that's usually where it is. And then also, it's also a good indication that you're ranking highly if there's an AI overview pulling up on a search engine results page, and that AI overview is pulling information from the content that you've been putting out. Now, those overviews are usually linked to the top pages within organic search results, which is another reason why it's important to rank highly in those organic search results. But all of those are indications that you have a site that is, ranking very highly in SERPs. And that's a good thing. All right. Another advantage is that you are likely to see increased website traffic. And it's okay if you see more overall site traffic, but really what we're trying to achieve with a really honed in performance SEO strategy, such as the ones we create for healthcare brands at Virgin Co, is something that helps you get more qualified traffic. So people that are actually looking for, the types of dental services and dental procedures that you offer, and people that are, in a position where they just need to know a little bit about how that works, and then they're ready to pull the trigger and get that done because they have a dental issue that they want to get fixed. And for those of us who've had dental issues, and I include myself in that, when you have one, you want to learn how you can fix it, and you want to fix it as quickly as possible. Okay, so that all works in your favor. We just want to make sure that your SEO strategy is targeting the right things to make sure that you're getting that qualified traffic and not just people doing general research. All right, the third advantage that SEO has for dental practices is that it has a high return on investment. So on average, SEO strategies have a return on investment, or ROI, that's about 5 to 10 times greater than whatever the amount is that you invested in SEO. So let's take a look at what that actually looks like in potentially real numbers. So if you invested $90,000 a year, or about $7,500 per month into, let's say, SEO and a content marketing component, you should be seeing an annual return on investment of somewhere between $360,000 and $810,000. Okay, now that sounds pretty good. You can invest, 90,000 and get back those sort of numbers. That's, it's a pretty good return, and it allows you to, do a lot more as far as expanding, the number of providers that you have within your practice to doing other things, to help your patients out. So, all of that is really good for sure. All right, so those are some of the advantages. There are definitely other ones, but those are, three of the main ones that's good to consider. Let's look at, if you wanted to go this on your own, or you're looking for an agency and you want to know, like, what are some best practices that they would put in place in an SEO strategy for your dental practice. Let's look at three of those best practices. So the first best practice that we will typically use for healthcare brands is to make sure that we're performing effective keyword research. So keywords are, little snippets of information. Usually it's more than one word. We call those long tail keywords if it's like 4 or 5 words, like, where do I find a dentist, right? That's a long tail keyword and something that somebody might actually type into a search engine. We would be looking for those type of keywords because the keywords that we're choosing, or that you're choosing if you're doing your own SEO, they have to be relevant to what your practice does and what they offer. So something like that, if you're a dental practice, probably something, a keyword that would be relevant that you would want to consider, working into content that you're creating. You also want the keywords that you choose to be ones that potential patient near you are searching. So, you would want to target not just things that people nationally are doing, but especially if you have like specific brick and mortar locations, which most dental practices do, as opposed to, some of the other virtual healthcare brands that we've worked with, then you really want to look for, people within the city that you're located in, or the, state that you're located in. Depending on the tool, you can get super granular. What are they searching for when they're looking for dental searches? And we really hone in on those keywords. Okay. Now, the way to make sure that you can do those first two things is that you're using a SEO and keyword research tool that allows you to see things like how many people are searching for a specific keyword, how difficult is it to rank content for that keyword, what is the search intent of the keyword? In other words, why are people searching for it? So there's a couple of common search intents. We'll take a little digression here. There are a couple of common search intents. The first one is informational, which means they want to know something when they're searching for that keyword. The second one is commercial search intent, and that means that they're researching a potential purchase, but they're not quite ready. They still need a little bit of research to be ready to pull the trigger. Navigational search intent is they want to find a specific online, such as location, such as a web page, or an offline location, such as a dental clinic. A transactional search intent is another type of search intent that's pretty common, and usually in the transactional search intent, if the keyword has that intent, it means that the person typing that in is looking for something to purchase right now. They don't need to do any more research. They don't, they're looking for information. They want to pull the trigger right now. So, a lot of different areas. You could target keywords that have different search intents, depending on where people are in their journey towards making a decision to actually, go to a dental practice. Finally, just one quick note, a keyword can have multiple search intents. For instance, we see a lot of keywords that have both an informational and a commercial search intent at the same time. So just something to keep in mind. All right, so all of those things are important to making sure that you're performing effective keyword research. The next best practice that we we'll put in place in a lot of our healthcare SEO strategies is to make sure that we're creating informative and relevant content. So that follows on from the keywords. You have to do the keyword research first, and then you build that informative and relevant content around those keywords. Okay. So what does it mean to have content that is informative and relevant? Well, your content is considered informative and relevant when it accurately discusses a dental service or topic, right? So it needs to be clinically accurate, but it also needs to be couched in language that the average person can understand, they can engage with, and is accessible to them. Your content is also considered to be informative and relevant when it provides information that goes beyond surface level. So you want to give them not necessarily the full depth, right? You don't need to go into full clinical depth, right? You spend a lot of time in dental school. You have a huge depth of knowledge. The average person doesn't need to go quite that deep, but beyond sort of the surface level. And then you'll have to gauge where that is. Your content is also considered to be informative and relevant when it answers specific questions that patients have. And that, again, goes back to the keyword research we talked about. You'll see those specific questions and create content to that. Your content is informative and relevant when it includes keywords that potential patients are searching for, which, again, goes back to the keywords. And it is also considered informative and relevant when it includes relevant internal links to other pages on your site and external links to other credible resources. And your content, finally, is considered to be informative and relevant when it is a resource that other credible websites are linking to in their own content or on their own web pages. And when those sites are linking to your pages, that is what we call a backlink. So if you've heard that term before, that's what we're talking about. All right. And the third best practice that you as a dental practice would want to consider putting in place is to make sure that you're optimizing your content and website for local searches with local SEO tactics. So we already actually talked about a few local SEO tactics. One of them is researching locally relevant keywords. So those would be, as opposed to like national, but things usually the most common example is things like the near me searches. So if you are looking to see how many people are searching dentists near me, right? That's a really basic and common one. That's great for local SEO because they're looking for somebody right in their area, right in the town or city that you are located in. And it also includes, using keywords that are locally relevant within the content that you're creating. Okay. Again, that goes back to the keyword research. A lot of things go back to the keyword research. That's kind of always the first place we start. So beyond those, sort of keyword related and, including the keywords in your content, other local SEO tactics that your dental practice can pretty easily apply include creating and regularly updating your Google business profile, which was formerly known as a Google My Business listing. You can also work on creating content that's very specific to the location or locations of your clinic, talking about things that are relevant in that specific community that are not necessarily related to dental work per se. That kinds of content can be very helpful. Another SEO tactic you could pretty easily apply to your dental practice is looking for ways to encourage and make it easy for your patients to review your practice. You can also look at making sure that you're maintaining that your practice name, your location address or addresses, and phone number or phone numbers are consistent and across all the platforms that you are on online. That includes things like your website, your Google business profile, social media profiles, etc. All right. Another tactic that you can apply pretty easily is, doing some networking with other relevant local businesses. to create some backlinking opportunities. If they are highly thought of in your area, for a dental practice, it might be, I'll leave it up to you, but I'm going to use the example of maybe you have a local pharmacy, you know, that is really well thought of in the area, and you can speak with them, and then, you guys can link to each other's content and create some really effective and helpful backlinks that way. And finally, one of the big ones, because a lot of people when they're out locally, they're using their phone, they're not necessarily on their desktop, ensuring that your website is mobile friendly and loads quickly on as a mobile site, is huge for local SEO as well. All right, so I hope all that information was helpful, both the advantages as well as some of the tactics that either you could put in place yourself, or that you should be looking for an SEO agency to be putting in place for you. I hope all that was helpful. If we really appreciate you watching this video, and if you're interested in seeing more or learning more about how Burgeon Co can help your dental practices, we encourage you to get in touch with us.